Welcome aboard FreeDive with Seapoint Digital, your go-to podcast for deep dives into the world of digital marketing. I'm Kristy.
And I'm Anna Lynn.
Your hosts navigating through the currents of growth, strategy, and innovation in the digital realm.
We're going to talk. We're going to laugh. It's going to be a good time.
Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of the FreeDive Podcast. I'm your host, Kristy Billingsley, and today we have with us Deb and Mark Silverman. So we're very excited to have Mark with us today. Mark is our Senior Vice President of Client Services. Did I say it right? Yes. Perfect. And Deb has co-hosted a couple episodes with us before, but we're going to have her join us again today. So thank you, Deb.
Thanks for having me, Kristy. I am very excited to get to chat with Mark today. We get to work a lot together, so this is a treat.
Yeah. So today we're going to kind of dive into an episode of the history of marketing. Mark's been working in marketing for 30 plus years. So he's got a lot of knowledge in the changes in marketing. So we're going to kind of pick his brain about all of those changes.
So 30 plus years, that's a long time, Mark. What was the marketing landscape like when you first started your career?
It was different, but constantly evolving with technology. You could say that it was much more handwork driven. When you had to work up a budget, a lot of it was with a calculator on your desk and an Excel spreadsheet, figuring out response rates and conversion rates. So, but it gave you a way to really understand the business rather than have the machine or the computations already built into a computer or a program. You actually had to understand what the computation was to be able to do it. So it gave you a very deep understanding of the business. So that was helpful. Yes, it was painful and arduous at times, but it paid off in the long run.
What made you get into marketing? Like, how'd you get started in this industry?
It's interesting too. I always knew I wanted to do something. My whole family is, skews creatively, so my daughter's in advertising, my other daughter's in film. Both of my nieces and my niece and nephew are also in the creative fields. My brother's in entertainment on the management side, and he's my twin brother. And so we both knew that we wanted to do something that we needed to be stimulated creatively, but yet we knew we weren't creative like, oh, I'm going to go out and become, Taylor Swift or whatever. We're not like that, or I'm going to be Van Gogh. We didn't have those kinds of gifts, but we knew we had to do something that was going to stimulate us and get our creative juices going. So for me, it was and at the same time, I wanted to have a decent life. So it meant going into business. So the creative side of business is marketing. So that's why I got into marketing, because I knew it would always keep me stimulated and interested and curious. And all those things are necessary to me to be a good marketer. Besides just being smart in business, you also have to always be curious and always asking why. Why do people do that? Why do they behave that way? That is, I think, the essence of a good marketer to me.
Yeah, no, I can totally see that. That's very interesting because there's, I know your work with Seapoint, you do a lot with the strategy side and whatnot, which some people might not, they think of creative as like the graphic designer and the writer, and they may not realize that the strategy part of it is just as creative. That's really cool that you found a way to use your strengths and that area. You knew you needed to do something and you weren't going to be Taylor Swift, but you did develop quite a love of music, as we've talked about many times. But that strategy is just as creative, knowing how to put all those pieces of the puzzle together. And you do that so well.
Well, thank you. It's again, you gotta want to get up every day out of bed and do what you do. Right. Yes. And I love what I do because again, it's always trying to answer that question, why, for the client, and trying to find that niche for them that makes them stand out in the marketplace. What's unique, what's different, what differentiates them, what gives them that competitive advantage that will help our marketing and our advertising sing to a potential prospect versus everybody else in the market that hopefully looks kind of vanilla.
Yeah. Have there been any significant like milestones or specific things that you've noticed, like changes or pivots that have happened in marketing over those years? Anything
I
that
think
jumps
it's a
into mind?
slow evolution. To me, it's been a slow
Mm.
evolution. Insurance, again, much of my career is financial services and insurance marketing. So they're, for the most part, followers. They're not leaders. So it gives me a chance to absorb what's happening in the marketplace and then be able to
Mm.
apply it to the financial service or insurance that I've been marketing. I would say the biggest changes, though, I have seen two things. Data becoming big data, right? Data becoming more accessible and usable and relevant in making marketing more personal and relevant to somebody who's receiving that stimuli. And then the internet, being able to deliver it on a whole nother platform outside of TV or radio or mail or billboard or magazines and newspapers. So that has been explosive. We see it now. We go onto a website, we search, blouse, whatever, purple blouse, whatever. Next thing you know is you see an ad that comes up when you're online for, purple blouse, right? So we've all seen it. You walk into a store, and if they had the capability, they could shoot you a coupon if you're a customer. So, it's being able to use the data. The greatest experience that I've ever had with using data, and if I'm going off, just stop me, hit the brakes, say, hey, new question. But the best experience I ever had was I was working with the National Education Association, and we were marketing an insurance product. And the National Education Association is teachers, basically, K through 12 teachers and some college across the country. So it's a 50-state insurance program. We were marketing an accidental death and dismemberment AD&D program. It was very inexpensive. And again, taking a step back, and I said, they weren't going to make a lot of money on the product. But what that product did was, if somebody raised their hand and took it, it opened the door to cross-sell term life, which was their lead product. So all of a sudden, you became a cold offer for term life versus somebody that had a relationship with the NEA already. You became a member who had insurance, and now would you like to upgrade to life insurance? So it's a much different conversation, and it gives, the more people we could get in on the AD&D, the easier it would be for them another group to do the cross-selling. So when we took a look at the audience, and again, this is a look at my first blush with really using data to your benefit. So first off, you have to understand the audience. The audience is teachers, as I mentioned, but the National Education Association is they're located in Washington. Many members have virtually no real relationship with the NEA. Okay. Their main, when you join the association, you join at the local level. We're in Maine. So the Kittery Education Association, you would join it as in your local school. You go to school, you go to your schoolhouse, your school building, and there's somebody there from the association walking around saying, would you like to join the association? And you sign up. So your affinity, right, is really at the local, with the Kittery Education Association, not so much the Maine Education Association, not so much the National Education Association. So we had to do some testing as the National Education Association. I had to prove to my client that the affinity was going to make a difference. So we did testing over a 6-month period of the National Associate envelopes. It was direct mail envelopes and luckily they had the data. So we did a package that, was to Deb McGranahan with the NEA branding. And then we did another package, same offer, same package, but a different brand for the Maine Education Association. When we did those two packages side by side, the Maine Education Association destroyed the National Education Association. So we knew right then and there that it was working. The next part of the test, again, it was like 6 months of testing. We took the Maine Education Association and tested it against the Kittery Education Association. in the envelope, in the outside of the envelope. There was no question. The local association where people signed up, and it makes sense if you get something from the Kittery Education Association and you're working in the school district, are you not going to open that? Of course you're going to open it. Where the National Education Association you may say it's promotional mail, throw it out.
Right.
So the last time I heard that they mailed that AD&D package, and it was a very assumptive, and the whole package was thought through to be very assumptive. What I mean by that was, this is what all members do. This is part of your benefits. They opened it up. There wasn't even a letter. It was a form. The enrollment form was the letter. We built the enrollment into the introduction of the package. So it was thinking through, how we were going to present ourselves to these people, using the data we had, and the results were, the last time they mailed it into Massachusetts, which was a long time ago, but they were getting over 2%, over 2% sales, which is unheard of in direct mail. Unheard of. And this is when most affinity clients, their response rates were really declining dramatically, like off a cliff. And all of a sudden we turned it around. So what that did was they were getting hundreds, if not thousands, of people raising their hand and taking this AD&D package that they could turn around to and say, hey, would you like to buy term life insurance? So it was a dramatic success. Dramatic success. But again, it was the idea of how to use data to help you get in front of people. People aren't against insurance per se. They just need to understand why you're offering it to me and what the benefit of it is. So that's what we did.
And you mentioned in that story several levels of testing that gets into that creative thing. Like, okay, what are 2 different ways that we can send this out?
Yeah.
Now, I know in our work together, like with the clients that we work with, there's a lot of digital marketing, but there's still print that's done. I know you probably came from the time where you started before the digital was
Right.
even a factor. How has that shifted, and how are companies able to use both? Is print still working well enough to be worth the extra cost to add that in? Like, how can companies kind of balance those two with the print and the digital?
It is a balancing act, and it's always a cost benefit, and you see if you're going to get the ROI. The testing is always the key. And as I mentioned in the last example, we were always testing to prove it. And that's what direct marketing, it's like we say, Seapoint is where digital and direct marketing like to meet. Because again, it's that, using the rigor of direct marketing, of the constantly measuring, but always with the nimbleness of, online marketing, digital marketing. So you can pivot quickly, because now you get results quicker online. But with all the other channels, depending upon the client and their competitive space and how they can reach their audience best, some channels may be worthwhile, others may not just fit. For example, with our client, Texas Medical Association Insurance Trust, we would never do billboard. We would never do it radio, right? We have the list from the client, so we don't need to do those kinds of channels. They just don't fit. So it kind of, each client's needs are different. Whereas one of our other client, which is a regional regional food store, grocery store, something like that may fit, to be thought of, right? To be think through. Could it work? Could we make it help? Boost some of the other channels and surround the customer more. That's all.
Yeah. So it sounds like that combination of testing new things, knowing your client base, or like knowing your customer base and how they might actually find you, but then not being stuck in one way of doing things either. Like,
Right.
take those results of the testing. If you're like determined to do print, but print's not working, it's not worth the cost.
Exactly.
Right.
Always be open-minded. Try to find different channels and ways to, to help boost your results.
Yeah. Have you seen any changes in like consumer behavior over the years and how people are responding to different types of marketing?
I think people are, yes, I think people are more, they're skeptical about some of the things they see. Uh, they are they don't have the same attention span because they're bombarded so much by so much advertising and everything that's online on their phones. So advertising has to be quicker, smarter.
Mm.
Get under their skin quicker if you can, or make them stop and pay attention faster. It's more challenging, to say the least. Yep.
Yeah, the long form sales letter doesn't really fly anymore.
It's harder. It's harder to make it work.
Yeah.
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 Without a
People
doubt.
want instant information and whatnot.
Yeah.
Have you run into any like major roadblocks or challenges over the years that you've had to overcome?
Let's see. I
Whether in
can't.
your career or in marketing in general?
Well, there's always is always the marketing challenges that you could find that could be tough that you can't surmount. But no, for the most part, if you do your homework, you'll find some solution. It may not be the best answer, or that's not right. The right way of saying it. It may not be the one that works the way you want it to work, but it still can give you
Mm.
some breakthrough. So
Mhm.
sometimes things are iterative. You have to work several times before you get it right. You don't always hit a home run right from the get go. So the testing and learning cycle is important, and that's why it's so rudimentary in marketing.
Yeah. Sounds like marketers have to have a better attention span than the consumers have.
And
To
patience
be,
as well, I think.
Yeah,
yeah,
yep.
for
You got to
sure.
pay attention, and you got to be willing to roll up your sleeves and dig into the data. What
Mm.
what the results really mean. So much of the data now is Google makes the online ads. Google makes the decision for you what pieces of ads to change, but you never really understand why it's working.
Mm.
You understand what ads working better, but you never really get to why.
Yep. That is definitely something I have learned from you, Mark, is always asking why
It's,
about things that you might not think that there would be a nugget in there. And it's like, oh, I didn't even think of that.
yeah, no, I,
Yeah.
I appreciate I
Lots.
appreciate that, but again, Mutual Admiration Society. I've loved working with you too. You're one of those people who are willing to roll up her sleeves and do the work. So, and to your point, you've seen it too. You've seen it when you dig in and you
Hmm.
see the numbers. It all of a sudden you get the voila moment. Now
Yep.
I understand. Now I see why. Yeah,
Right. Right. And having a client that like where we are managing this for other clients or businesses, having them be open to that information and be
yep,
willing to pivot based on that information is really
yep,
helpful too. So that's kind of a little piece of piece of advice for businesses out there. Be willing to make changes based on that data and don't feel
yeah,
like, oh, I've always done it this way. I have to keep
yeah.
doing it this way.
Right.
That's not always going to be the most beneficial way.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing too that I would recommend to prospective clients or anybody listening, if you are on the client side, is to share information with your marketing partners. We're only as good as the information you're willing to give us. I mean, there have been times, Deb, as you know, when we're on the phone with a client, having a status call or just going through, talking about a campaign that we're preparing. The client will say something off the cuff and we'll say, wait a minute, hit the brakes. What did you mean by that? And
Mm.
they'll tell. I mean, this is why we've been so successful with health insurance marketing for Texas Medical Association, is because they told us a throwaway line and we delved deeper into that to understand what it meant. And it created a whole new strategy and campaign that we've been running for what, 6 years or something. So
Mhm.
it's
That's
it's
been
been
very
tremendous.
successful.
Very successful. Right. Right. It's been very successful for the client and therefore obviously successful for us as well. So, the more information you can share with your marketing partner, the smarter they can be in helping you, deliver results for the organization.
Yeah. Are there any trends that you see uh coming up in the future? Like, do you have any predictions as to where this industry is heading over the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh boy, I'd be foolish to even try. No, I don't have predictions, but I always try to keep my ear to the ground as we all do on the
Mm.
agency side. What's next? and how can we make it work for our clients. Always trying to learn to be better, right? If there's something new
Mm,
that's going to advance marketing and help us serve our clients and their customers better, we want to know about it.
for sure. Is there any particular moment in your career where you learned a particularly valuable lesson that influences you still today?
I don't know if I could say a lesson, but what I can tell you is I always put myself in the mind, try to put my mind in the mindset of the consumer, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm developing a marketing strategy or trying to come up with something that's going to make them unique or our clients unique, I always say, okay, well, why would somebody buy from them? What is going on in the consumer prospective consumer's mind or in their life that makes them would make them want to buy from us, right? So
Mm,
and you really have to think about it. You have to, shut off your phone, shut off your computer,
mm.
and think about it, or do enough research to give you the insights that you find that nugget, right? Ah, got it. That may be a way in.
That's what I was going to say is it seems like you have to research a bit about your audience or client in order to gather that information.
Yes. Look, sometimes you get inspiration from other things that you would never, in places you would never expect. For example, I was recently on a plane flying down to Florida, and we were working with an insurance company that, well, I'll go back to the story and then I'll circle back. We were flying in and we're coming in low, and I'm seeing fields and fields into West Palm Beach, fields and fields of new housing development. It was like a new country was springing up. So many new houses were being built, and we were staying with some friends, and we decided to drive around and look at some of these new developments. Well, every time I drove into one of these new developments where the building was still going on, there was a trailer, and the trailer had a family name, you know, Maroney Construction Company, Smith Construction Company, right? And I saw this like 3 or 4 times in the different developments we went into. And that gave me the inspiration to think that a lot of the businesses that our client was going to work with were family owned, right? It was a captive insurance company is our client. I'm thinking about they're all family owned. So they want to continue the legacy. The father, the grandfather who started it, and the son who took it over. That son wants to keep that legacy alive for their children. Captive insurance is one way to help do that. Cut their costs, manage their risk, right? But we came at it and this client happens to be, they are family owned also. So there was the link that made them unique, right? So this wasn't really based on research, but then it caused me to go back and do research. How many businesses in the United States are family owned, right? And the majority are family owned, right? And it fits because it is usually a single person making the decisions. So if you can, now we understood, right? Now we had a way in that was unique. When I looked at the sea of advertising for all the other captive insurance companies, they were all the same. You could slap any logo on any one of them and interchange them like walnuts
Mm,
on a table. It wouldn't matter, right? But with our client, we're hopefully going to find something that's going to make them unique and stand out, right? Captive insurance for family-owned businesses. Nobody says that.
Yeah.
mm.
So again, that inspiration came from just again keeping an open mind and being curious. So again, it doesn't necessarily have to always come from data or research. The research came later to confirm it, but so be
Interesting.
it.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So we've
Yeah,
talked
it
about
was fun.
mentioned a few different qualities that are needed in this business. You mentioned the creativity, having patience, being curious. Anything else that would benefit people to be able to have this certain type of mindset or this certain quality to be successful in
Willing to do the
marketing?
work. You have to be willing to
Yeah.
put in the time, right? Put in the time, And again, you don't do it because, oh, I got to do it. Oh, I got to. No, you do it because you love it, right? You got to love it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to, I'm going to find it. If it's the last thing I do, how do I make this work for this client?
Well, you're thinking about it on your time off when you're on a plane. So it's just kind of
Right.
always with you.
Either it's either in you or it's not. You love it or you don't. That's all. Right? I mean, you look at Bill. He's built the same way, I think. I think he's always thinking about it.
Yeah. And he comes back from a vacation. He is like ideas man.
Right.
Like to the max. Just like he comes back in here with a brand new fire of things he wants to do.
It makes it.
We're like, all right, lay out the tasks, Bill. What do you want us all to work on now?
Right. Yeah. It makes it not work. It's not work.
It doesn't feel like work. Yeah.
No.
Yep.
That's very true. And two, like we've kind of highlighted at the beginning, like working with similar minded people makes it also feel not like work.
Yeah,
and it's really been it's been so fun for me learning from you, Mark, because not only do you possess all these qualities we talked about, I know you don't like the compliments, I'm going to give you one anyway. There's also a humility with this, that you have to be willing to be like, okay, here's my idea. Oh no, that's really not the best idea in the room. That idea sounds really good. And even though you come with decades of experience, the fact that you come to collaborations with such an open mind and willing to listen to all of the ideas, and no idea is wrong. And that has helped people like me who are newer in doing this work to not feel as intimidated or as like, okay, I got to keep my ideas to myself because it's not going to be as good as it opened it up right away. And I just want to thank you personally for being like that, because pleasure. I was terrified when I came into this job, and you've really made it fun, and it's been awesome to learn from you. Don't shake your head. No, I'm being serious.
You've been terrific too. You've been willing to put in the hours and the work. But let me say this. If a smart client will understand that the power of an agency is the collaboration.
For sure.
Not only our own collaboration internally as we're working through challenges for a client, but for the client to be willing to sit on a call with us or get in a meeting with us and have an open give and take. That is the power of working with an agency. Yeah, all these minds, everybody working toward the same goal, not just one person sitting at their desk, scratching their head. What do I do now? Use the agency for the power it represents. And that's all the people within it.
That's great advice.
Excellent advice. Very nice. Is there anything else you would like to say to our listeners of the FreeDive Podcast, Mark?
No, I don't think so. I just, enjoy what you do. That's all I can say. Just, you got to love it. Hopefully you do. And I have found marketing to be just really rewarding. And I say marketing, not just advertising. Advertising is a part of marketing. I love the creative side of it, but I love the marketing, the numbers, the data, the strategy, the thinking.
Yeah.
Again, that's always when somebody hires, when a client hires an organization, hires an agency. I always say, like I just had a pitch the other day. You want to know how we think? Let us help you understand how we think.
Yeah.
So. It all besides just getting along, do I like them? Do I like the guy? Do I like the people? Could I get along with them? Do I see myself working with them through all of our challenges? But are they also, good thinkers? So that's part of it too.
For sure.
Well, that's great advice.
All right.
Thank you so much. This was so insightful, so helpful. We appreciate your time. And thank you to Deb for leading us in this conversation. I know that you've worked so much with Mark that you were the perfect person to kind of lead our discussion here. So thank you very much, Deb. And thank you very much, Mark, for being here.
My pleasure. And thank you guys. I appreciate the discussion. It was fun.
And we'll see everybody next time.
Great. Take care, guys.
Excellent.
It's the end.
No, it's not. There's more.
There's always more.
Don't be sad. You can catch our full video interviews on our YouTube channel. Come find us.
And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with your friends so that we're not sad.
And follow us on TikTok
and Instagram.
It'll make your day happier, promise.
And we'll know if you do it. Until next time.